Let's go to the phones because their attorney, the Savages' attorney, is live on V103. Gerald, what's happening, homie?
Hey, Frank, what's going on, man?
Man, a lot is going on in your world right now with this interview.
Yes.
First of all, before we get into this, what are your thoughts about the interview with Gayle King?
My thoughts are no competent attorney would have allowed their client to give that interview. He basically incriminated himself, and he told quite a few misstatements of fact and falsehoods. So I think that we're going to see an escalation in the charges and the legal outcome for Mr. Kelly simply by doing that interview, because in the charge that he has in Cook County, you know, they're against three of them are against women who were underage at the time, and two of the cases have DNA. So for him to get on national television and deny that he had any sexual contact with minors is absolutely false based on the evidence and the scientific proof.
As it relates to your client, the Savages, their daughter was not underage.
No, she was 19.
So what are the charges as far as she's concerned? Is it being held against her will?
Well, currently that's being investigated in Fulton County, and we believe charges will be brought in Fulton County, and it's also being investigated by another agency for child sex trafficking that's occurring in New York. So there are two other investigations that are going on, and we expect charges to be filed in those investigations as well. So what I would say about the interview is that Mr. Kelly's mistaken on a lot of the facts. First off, Joycelyn Savage was never sold to R. Kelly. No money was ever provided. She wasn't placed on stage by anybody. So I think he's confusing his cases. And also he needs to understand that there are still several other accusers who he paid with non-disclosure agreements who are probably going to come forward now that he's broken the non-disclosure agreement. And so you may have more child sex victims come forward because of this interview.
Let me ask you this. I made some statements earlier that prompted you to call because I was saying that the parents had some responsibility in this. What are your thoughts about me saying that the parents have responsibility in this?
My thoughts are, it's not like these parents provided their child for some sort of sexual escapade with R. Kelly. They were trying to get into the music industry. Some of them are already in the music industry, so they wanted a mentor. Many artists have mentored individuals, and the parents were always involved. So to listen to Mr. Kelly's version of facts, which are not entirely accurate, paints a broad picture of parents who were simply trying to facilitate a business relationship. They were always supposed to be involved. They were never supposed to be alone with Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly is the one that secreted his number and then removed both victims from the jurisdiction of their parents, and now their parents have not seen them, one for 3.5 years, another for 2 years, and they've had absolutely no contact with their family. So, for people to say, well, it's the parents' fault, it's not the parents' fault. What's going on here is something that law enforcement needed to get involved with because we have a predator on the loose. Since the early 90s, this individual has been preying on individuals in our community, and it's time for it to stop. You saw that predatory behavior, that violent behavior in that interview where he went off the handles.
Yeah.
An innocent man does not go off the handles. He simply answered the question, no, I didn't do this. No, I didn't do this. No, not flying off the hand. Y'all trying to kill me. Y'all trying to destroy me. Nobody's trying to destroy you, and nobody's trying to bring up your past. But when it falls within the statute of limitations and you committed a crime, you will be held accountable to that crime. And what Mr. Kelly fails to realize is his past is quite relevant because 3 of the victims are within the statute of limitations. And you notice he never said it didn't happen. He said, why y'all bringing up my past?
Right. Yeah. Let me ask you this, because I think what some people are listening would say, this is Atlanta. Atlanta, everybody knows somebody that knows somebody that's a star.
Right.
This is the land of 1,000 dreams. If you want to make it in the music business and you black, you come to Atlanta. If you want to make it in the film business, you go to L.A.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's all these people are these nobodies. You've said that that her parents were in the music industry. Why put so much trust in a guy that says, oh, I can take you to R. Kelly, I can take you to Sony? What was it that made the parents even trust the cousin or whoever it was he said, Mr. Savage said he didn't even know who he was.
Well, because Kevin Giles came into their boutique, he saw Jocelyn Savage's ability. He thought that she could be a star. The parents thought that she could be a star, and they were going to hook up with Sony, not R. Kelly.
Yeah, but at no point they ever got anything from Sony.
And that's true. And by the time they realized all that, Jocelyn Savage was gone.
But that's why I'm saying to you that there's a level of responsibility from the parents. They never saw the word Sony on any paper, on any card, on anything, and they went with these strange people that they didn't even know who they were, who they worked for, had never met them before, and they brought their daughter into this triangle with a bunch of strangers. So how could the parents not have any responsibility?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. People go to talent showcases all the time that purport to make people big stars, and they trust the individuals at the talent showcases, and they don't pan out. So, I mean, yes, they took a risk, a business-calculated risk, but at no point did they sign up for their child to be sex trafficked. And that's the issue that I'm having. We are excusing Mr. Kelly's predatory behavior for the last 25 years simply because he went on Gayle King with no receipts and no proof to tell his story. Where's the proof? Where's the money that changed hands? Where are the flights that were procured? Where are the individuals backing up or corroborating his statements? There are none, because we saw what happened in the documentary. The documentary was a G-rated version. We've heard from 8 accusers of the 48 that we know about. We've heard about the DNA tests that have occurred on the 2 shirts from the individuals who now are victims.
So let's do this. Let's talk real quick, because JR has a question too. But let's talk about facts real quick. The facts are that Jocelyn is 19. She's an adult.
Okay.
The facts are she doesn't need permission from her mama and daddy for nothing. The facts are she don't have to call her mom and daddy. The facts are she ain't got to talk to them a day in their life, have them no business, no whatever. Jocelyn also has gone in the public and said several times, "I'm okay. Leave me alone."
Okay.
At that point, I'm not understanding.
Let's go facts. Ashanti McGee said that they were locked in.
No, I'm talking about Jocelyn. The facts with Jocelyn.
We're talking about that. We're talking about 2017 in the Johns Creek house. They were locked into the room. They weren't allowed to go anywhere. They weren't allowed to communicate with anybody. They were forced to pee in buckets. And they were beaten. That's what Ashanti McGee said in the documentary. That's false imprisonment, aggravated assault, and kidnapping in Georgia. But
in all fair, Lawyer Griggs, you know that's hearsay.
Hearsay.
That's hearsay. That's here. She's never said it. She's never said it in court. It's hearsay.
In Georgia, the testimony of a single witness is sufficient to prove a fact. That's the law in Georgia. It's not hearsay. It's direct evidence.
Okay, so she's saying that Jocelyn was with her, and that's what happened, and that is your case. So, but you can understand
that's not my whole case, because there's another individual who's now out of the house, who I've now contacted their attorney, who was also there. Her name is Dominique Gardner. Remember the one lady who was freed from the situation? She's about to talk. So when we talk about direct evidence and facts, let's get our direct evidence and facts straight.
Now, recently, the police in Chicago went in, spoke to them, went in on a health with a care wellness check, and said everything was okay.
And they interviewed him when R. Kelly was sitting in the living room with them. That's not regular police procedure. They're supposed to separate the individuals.
Now, Gayle King has them separated in a room, and she's going to have them on tomorrow. What do you say about that part and those clips that were released with them saying they're okay?
We will evaluate the clips. We will have our professionals evaluate the clips, because Stockholm Syndrome is very real. So while you're still in the care, custody, and control of the alleged abuser, you may be willing to say whatever.
Yeah. JR?
Yeah, no, I mean, my original point went back to just parental responsibility. And you said it was a risk and a business risk. But when you're talking about children, That's not something you risk. It's not, hey, I'm putting $50, $100 into E-Trade here, or investing $1 million into a home situation. These are children and kids, and this is not to absolve anything of the charges of R. Kelly and what he faces. But you can't lobby up children as business risks and hope that you put a child in front of an entertainer or someone who's going to represent an entertainer and that they're going to blow up. That should be something that's a no-go. That's a non-starter.
It doesn't that happen every single day in this city? I mean, isn't that
It
how
shouldn't,
people
though.
are discovered? What the problem that happened here was you had an alleged child predator that got a hold of these individuals. That's the only difference. And I'm not completely saying that they should have taken more precautions. They should have had an attorney available. They should have had an agent available.
Right.
But I'm not going to sit here and say that they are to blame for what's happening to their daughters right now. I'm not going to say that.
How much
Because
responsibility
at the end of the day,
how much responsibilities does R. Kelly's manager that introduced him and the security that obviously, if you believe what you're saying, play a part in this thing? How much?
I think they play a huge part, and I think it's called conspiracy.
And you think they'll be charged too?
I think that once the investigation is completed, you will see a RICO conspiracy charge, just like you saw in Atlanta Public Schools.
Wow.
Because this was an organization to provide underage women to Mr. Kelly.
Gerald Griggs, the attorney, thank you, my brother, for putting Atlanta up on the facts as we have them so far. We look forward to hearing from you tomorrow after your client's daughter speaks to Gayle King. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Frank.